What if I told you that poverty is not a sign of weakness, but a hidden test of greatness? That behind every torn shoe, every empty pocket, and every sleepless night lies a strength more powerful than money itself. Stay with me till the end, because today I will prove to you that poverty does not define character, it reveals it. Poverty is not a reflection of who a person is, but rather of the circumstances they are trapped in. It is important to understand that being poor does not mean being less intelligent, less capable, or less worthy of respect. Poverty is often the result of social, economic, and structural factors that limit opportunities for people despite their talents and determination. Imagine a child born in a village where schools are miles away, healthcare is a distant dream, and even basic necessities like clean drinking water are scarce. That child is not poor in character or ability, but an opportunity. Their mind is as sharp, their heart is as strong, and their dreams are as big as any other child in the world. Yet circumstances create barriers that force them into a cycle of struggle. When we look at poverty as a personal flaw, we are unfairly blaming individuals for conditions that were never in their control. A farmer struggling with crop failure due to drought is not lazy. A mother walking for hours every day just to bring water home is not irresponsible. A young man working tirelessly in low-paying jobs to feed his family is not without ambition. They are simply fighting battles against systems that deny them a fair chance. Poverty does not define the soul of a person. It only reflects the weight of the challenges they are carrying. There are countless stories in the world of people who were born in poverty, yet carried within themselves extraordinary vision. Their character was not measured by the emptiness of their pockets, but by the greatness of their perseverance. They remind us that poverty is a condition, not a verdict. One person may be forced to sleep on the floor tonight, but that does not mean their spirit is small. Another may eat a single meal in a day, but that hunger does not erase their integrity. Poverty never diminishes the human worth of anyone. It only highlights the cruel inequities of the world around them. What we often forget is that every person, whether rich or poor, has an inner world of emotions, aspirations, and values. A child who studies under a streetlight because there is no electricity at home does not lack ambition. In fact, that child demonstrates character far stronger than someone who takes every comfort for granted. The young girl who sells flowers and traffic signals to support her siblings is not defined by her tattered clothes. Her spirit is defined by sacrifice, resilience, and love. Yet too often, society labels these people as failures, when in truth, they are heroes. When in truth, they are heroes living in silence. Poverty, when misunderstood, becomes a dangerous stigma. People begin to assume that being poor means lacking discipline, lacking morals, or lacking vision. This assumption is not only false, it is deeply unjust. Circumstances like lack of access to education, unfair economic systems, discrimination, or even sheer bad luck can pull people into poverty. None of these are a reflection of character. If anything, poverty tests character in ways wealth never can. It forces patience, endurance, and strength in situations where giving up would be the easiest option. When we begin to see poverty not as a personal weakness, but as a shared responsibility, everything changes. We no longer look down on the poor with judgment, but with respect for their struggle and recognition of their humanity. We stop asking, why are they poor? And start asking, why is the system creating poverty? Poverty isn't proof of laziness. It is proof that opportunities are not equally distributed. It isn't proof of lack of intelligence. It is proof that intelligence alone cannot survive without a supportive environment. It isn't proof of weak character. It is proof that character is surviving despite unimaginable challenges. So, to truly understand poverty, we must imagine ourselves in the shoes of those who live it. To rise each morning knowing the day ahead will be full of struggles, yet still choosing to keep moving forward. That is character. To dream of a better tomorrow when today is full of hunger and hardship, that is character. To give your last piece of bread to your child while you go hungry, that is character. The world must learn to separate material wealth from moral worth because one is circumstantial while the other is eternal. True character shines in resilience, kindness, and determination, not in the size of a wallet. When people measure success only by money, they miss the deeper truth of human worth. Money can buy a house, but not a home filled with love. Sada. It can purchase fine clothes, but not the humility to treat others with respect. It can offer temporary comfort, but it cannot buy courage in the face of hardship. The true value of a person is revealed when the storms of life arrive, when everything around them is uncertain, and they still choose to rise, to help others, and to push forward without losing their humanity. Think of the single parent who works 2 or 3 jobs not for luxury, but simply to ensure their children get food, shelter, and a chance at education. The world may see their income as small, but the strength of their character is immeasurable. Every sleepless night, every sacrifice, every tear hidden behind a smile shows more greatness than any bank account ever could. Resilience is the ability to continue walking even when the road is broken, and it is this resilience that defines character far more than wealth ever could. Kindness, too, is a mark of character. A wealthy man may donate millions, but if it is done for recognition, the act is empty. On the other hand, a poor woman who shares her last piece of bread with a hungry child has displayed kindness in its purest form. Poverty cannot erase compassion. In fact, those who live with less often understand the pain of others more deeply. They give not because they have much, but because they know what it feels like to have nothing. True kindness is not measured by the amount given, but by the love and sacrifice behind the giving. Determination is another jewel of character that poverty cannot dim. Many of the greatest leaders, thinkers, and innovators in history were born with nothing. They were not defined by what they lacked, but by what they refused to give up on. They faced rejection, ridicule, and endless struggles. Yet they held tightly to their dreams. Determination is not about never failing. It is about rising every single time failure tries to knock you down. That kind of spirit cannot be purchased or inherited. It must be built through struggle, and poverty often becomes the forge in which that strength is created. There are countless untold stories of ordinary people who live extraordinary lives of courage without the world ever recognizing them. The young man who studies by candlelight after working all day in a factory, determined to create a future his parents never had. The girl who walks miles to school barefoot because she knows education is the only key to change her destiny. The family that smiles and shares laughter, despite having little more than a small meal to eat together at night. These are the silent warriors who prove that true character is not tied to material possessions, but to the choices we make every day in the face of adversity. We live in a world that often glorifies luxury while overlooking resilience. Celebrities with wealth are praised as if money itself is proof of greatness. Yet the reality is far different. Many people with wealth have never known the pain of struggle, the weight of sacrifice, or the depth of perseverance. On the other hand, those living in poverty carry within them lessons of strength and dignity that no fortune could ever buy. The size of a wallet can change in an instant, but the depth of character remains eternal. When we begin to look at people through the lens of resilience, kindness, and determination, our perspective shifts. We no longer underestimate those with less because we begin to recognize the richness of their inner strength. A person who has faced hunger but still chooses to smile, who has faced rejection but still chooses to dream, who has faced cruelty but still chooses kindness. Such a person is wealthier in character than many with overflowing riches. Life itself is not fair in how it distributes wealth and privilege, but it is absolutely fair in one sense. It gives every human the chance to show who they truly are. Every trial, every setback, every moment of hardship is an opportunity for character to shine. In these moments, wealth is powerless, but resilience, kindness, and determination become priceless treasures. When we judge poverty as a flaw of character, we kill hope. But when we see potential in the poor, we unlock greatness that benefits society as a whole. Every judgment placed on someone for being poor is like adding another stone to the heavy load they already carry. Imagine a young boy who dreams of becoming a doctor, yet he is told by others that his dreams are impossible because of where he comes from. Imagine a mother who sacrifices everything to give her children a chance, only to be labeled careless because she cannot provide luxuries. These judgments strip away dignity and crush hope before it even has the chance to grow. The tragedy is not in poverty itself, but in the way society chooses to define those living in it. Hope is one of the most powerful forces in a human life. It gives people the strength to endure the hardest days and the courage to believe in tomorrow. When we say to someone, "You are poor because you are lazy," or "You are poor because you are weak," We are not only insulting them, we are extinguishing that hope. Without hope, dreams die. Without hope, dreams die. Without hope, efforts shrink. Without hope, the potential of millions of people around the world remains locked away, wasted, forgotten. But the moment we choose to see poverty differently, everything changes. To see potential in someone, even when they have nothing, is to light a spark inside them. It is to say, I believe you can. That spark has the power to ignite determination, courage, and creativity that can transform lives. History has shown us again and again that greatness is not born from comfort, but from struggle. Leaders, thinkers, artists, and inventors who came from poor backgrounds prove that the seed of potential is not bound by wealth. Poverty may surround a person, but it does not define the fire within them. What defines them is whether someone, maybe a teacher, a mentor, a friend, or society itself, chooses to nurture that fire or smother it with judgment. When potential is recognized and supported, it not only changes the life of the poor, but enriches the entire community. A child from the slums who is given education can grow into a scientist who discovers cures, a leader who inspires nations, or an artist who touches hearts across the world. A young girl who is encouraged to continue her studies instead of being dismissed because of her poverty can become the teacher who guides thousands of others. Poverty may hide diamonds in the rough, but the recognition of potential is what polishes them into brilliance. On the other hand, when society locks people in the cage of poverty by blaming them for their circumstances, it is not just individuals who suffer, but all of humanity. How many great leaders were silenced before they could speak? How many solutions to our biggest problems never came to light because the poor were never given the chance to rise? The truth is that the poor are not asking for pity. They are not asking to be looked down upon or pitied as helpless. They are asking for recognition, for equal opportunity, for a fair chance to show who they are. They are asking to be seen as humans with dreams, talents, and dignity. Poverty is a circumstance, not an identity. When we acknowledge that, we begin to unlock the true wealth of humanity, the ability of people to rise, to create, to build, to inspire, no matter where they start. Society becomes stronger when it invests in the potential of its weakest members. A bridge is only as strong as its weakest pillar, and humanity is only as strong as the opportunities it gives to its poorest. When we give a child the tools to learn, when we create systems that allow people to work with dignity, when we lift up instead of tearing down, we do not just change one life, we change the trajectory of generations. The wealth of character that emerges from those who rise from poverty is a wealth that no money can measure because it is built on resilience, gratitude, and vision. The difference between killing hope and unlocking potential is the difference between a world that stagnates and a world that flourishes. When we learn to stop seeing poverty as a lack of character, we open the door to infinite possibilities. The boy with no shoes could become the doctor who saves lives. The girl selling flowers on the street could become the writer who moves souls. The laborer working in the heat could become the leader who fights for justice, but only if we choose to see them as more than their poverty. So, what does all of this mean for us? It means that poverty is not the end of a story. It is only the beginning of a struggle that can lead to greatness. It means that the measure of a person is not in what they own, but in what they own, but they overcome. And it means that the voices of the poor are not cries of weakness, but echoes of strength waiting to be heard. Let me ask you, when you see a child begging on the street, do you only see torn clothes, or do you see a dream hidden behind those tired eyes? When you see a man struggling to earn a single meal, do you only see poverty, or do you see the determination in his footsteps that refuses to stop? When you see a woman carrying the weight of her family with nothing but courage in her heart, do you see weakness, or do you see the true definition of power? I say this to every person listening right now. Poverty is not who you are. It is only where you are. Your character, your spirit, your future are not locked by your circumstances. They are unlocked by your choices, your resilience, your hunger to rise. You are not defined by the limits around you. You are defined by the fire within you. Dialogue with yourself right now. Am I broken because I am poor? No, you are unbroken because you are still standing. Am I small because I have nothing? No, You are great because you refuse to give up. Am I a failure because I was born with less? No, you are proof that life's greatest success stories begin with nothing but a dream. Remember this: poverty cannot steal your mind. Poverty cannot steal your heart. Poverty cannot steal your will unless you hand it over. And I promise you, the world has been moved forward not by those who started rich, but by those who started with nothing but dared to believe in something greater. Think of the voices of history: the inventors, the leaders, the poets, the warriors, so many of them born in homes without comfort, in streets without safety, in lives without privilege. And yet, they rose. They rose because they refused to believe that poverty was their destiny. Ostiny. They rose because they looked in the mirror and said, "This is not the end of my story. This is only the beginning." And so I ask you, what will you say to yourself? Will you say to yourself, will you let society's judgment write your fate, or will you write your own chapter? Will you let the weight of poverty chain your steps, or will you let your dreams teach you to fly? Will you allow others to call you Elise, or will you rise to prove that you are a more than they could ever imagine? Every great journey starts with one step, even if that step is taken barefoot. Every victory begins with one decision, even if that decision is made in the darkest night. And every transformation begins with one belief: the belief that you are not powerless, that your future is not locked, that your character is greater than your circumstances. So I leave you with this call: rise. Rise not tomorrow, not someday, but today. Rise with the belief that your struggle is not shame.